This is part one in a series where I do Leetcode problems until I get into FANG or Big Tech. So today we're looking at Pacific Atlantic water flow. This is a medium. You are given a rectangular island heights where heights RC represents the height above sea level of the cell at coordinate RC. The islands borders the islands the islands border the Pacific Ocean from the top and left sides and border the Atlantic Ocean from the bottom and right sides. Water can flow in four directions, up, down, left, or right, from a cell to a neighboring cell. Let me start this. To a neighboring cell with a height equal or lower. Water can also flow into the ocean from cells adjacent to the ocean. Find all cells where water can flow from that cell to both the Pacific and Atlantic Oceans. Return it as a 2D list where each element is a list RC representing the row and column of the cell. You may return the answer in any order. Okay. So we want to find cells where water can flow from that cell to both the Pacific and Atlantic Ocean. So what does that mean? So a valid cell would mean that there is a path from the cell to both oceans. And what do these oceans represent? So Pacific would mean that rho is equal to 0, or call the column is equal to 0, and Atlantic rho is equal to let's say like n minus 1, or let's consider, okay, so let's establish that m and n are the length of the rows and columns respectively. Okay, so rho is equal to m minus 1, or crawl is equal to n minus 1. Okay, so a valid cell means there's a path from the cell to both oceans where the adjacent column, where the next column is of a lesser height. So I guess like a brute force solution would be to go through every single index or every single cell and do a DFS to determine if we can get from that cell to both the Pacific and Atlantic Oceans. And we would do the sub problem would be that, or like the condition that means we can go to that next cell, is if the height of that cell is less than the height of the current cell we're at. And that would work, but that would potentially be and correct me if I'm wrong, that would be well, space complexity of O of n squared, or m times n. But that would also be a time complexity of, so for each cell, we would potentially have to go through the whole, grid. So that would be O of m squared times n squared. And that is very bad. So instead, what we can do is start from each of the um, oceans, and we can go backwards actually to determine how far we can go from each cell, and we can do a DFS that way. And if we say we start with the Pacific, we'll loop through that, and we'll loop starting from each of these cells to say, hey, is this neighboring cell at a at a greater height? If so, let's go there, and we'll mark it as seen in a Pacific set. And we'll do the same with all the cells neighboring the Atlantic Ocean and add it to the Atlantic set. And what we're then going to do is return a union of the two sets, and that would give us the list of the cells that can hit both oceans. Okay, so Pacific, Atlantic. What's that layer? Okay, so let's mark the Pacific and Atlantic scene sets. So this means that these cells are able to be reached in both the Pacific and Atlantic, or Pacific or Atlantic oceans respectively. And let's create our DFS function. So we'll have RC, so our row and column. So if let's establish the bounds. So if row or column goes out of bounds, then we're just going to return out. And we're also going to establish the ocean that we're searching from. So if, let's say if we've already seen this in the current ocean, then we're just going to return out. Okay, from here what we can do is say, let's do past height. If heights, so if it's, okay, so we can travel from a cell to a neighboring cell if the height is equal or lower. So since we're going the opposite way, if the height is lower, if the next height is lower than the current height, or we could say if the current height is less than the past height, then we cannot go here, so we're going to return out. Okay, after all these base cases, this means that we can hit the cell, so the first thing we want to do is add it to our ocean set. And then from here we can hit north, south, east, and west. So the R-1C, ocean, and we want to get the current height, so this would be heights RC. So we can use this as the next past height. And we're going to go north, south, west, and east. And yep, after this we're done. So this is our DFS and it's ocean specific. So now we want to actually do a DFS from each of the Pacific cells and each of the Atlantic cells. So I'm going to do my little, let's do for I in range. And let's do a little nested for loop. Okay. So we can do these. Actually, I think we can just do this in one double nested for loop. So if I is equal to 0 or j is equal to 0, we want to do the DFS out from the Pacific Ocean. And if the row is equal to n minus 1 or the column is equal to n minus 1, we want to DFS from the Atlantic Ocean. And from here, I think there's a Python set union thing. But I don't know it, so we're just going to add these manually. So we're going to go through our Pacific set. go coordinate. If these coordinates in the Pacific Ocean are also in the Atlantic Ocean, then we're going to add this to our result array. Oh, wait. They don't want it in tuple form. They want it in a double nested for the form. Okay, that's fine. We say RC. RC is in the Atlantic, then we can append RC. We're going to append res. Let's see if this works. If R less than 0. Your output. Okay, is there any overlap here? Okay, looks like we're just missing a few. One, two is 1, 2, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 0, 2, 0, 1, 4, 1, 4, 0, 2, 0, 2, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 3, 1, 3. So what do we have here that we're missing in there? 1, 2, 1. It looks like it's 0, 4. So 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, why am I missing that? Okay, let's think. So let's print out both our sets. And let's see what if we have 0, 4 in Pacific, we do. Do we have an Atlantic? We do not. So why is it not in Atlantic? Let's see. Heights RC is less than past height. Okay. See, we should get this twice. Past height ocean 1, 4. Okay, I see what the problem is. So I did an elif statement, but the problem is that there's an overlap here on these two corners where they should be, those Pacific and Atlantic oceans are both touching them, so that was my issue. Yeah, they should pass. Okay.